All right, so today we're diving into The Little Prince. You know, that deceptively simple story by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry.
Yeah.
Now, we know you've shared this book with us. You know the story.
Right.
But over the next few minutes, let's revisit it together
Okay.
and see if we can uncover some fresh insights.
Sounds good.
So let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
The story opens with our narrator, a pilot,
Right.
finding himself stranded in the Sahara Desert after a crash landing.
Mm-hmm.
Dramatic start.
Yeah.
Can you set the scene for us?
Imagine the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Sahara.
Yeah.
Scorching sun beating down on these endless sand dunes.
I can picture it.
Our pilot is completely alone.
Okay.
His plane is wrecked, and he has very limited supplies.
Oh.
It's a moment of stark vulnerability.
Definitely not the ideal vacation spot.
No.
And into this desolate scene walks the little prince.
Exactly.
How is their first encounter described?
Well, the pilot is startled, to say the least.
Yeah.
He describes the little prince as a tiny fellow with golden hair and a really captivating charm.
Hmm.
But what's most striking is the little prince's simple request.
What is that?
Please draw me a sheep.
A sheep.
A sheep.
It's not exactly your typical desert survival request.
Exactly. And this unexpected request kind of sets the tone for their whole interaction.
Okay.
The pilot is a practical man grounded in the adult world.
Right.
And he's utterly bewildered by this strange and whimsical child.
So how does he react to this odd demand for a sheep drawing?
Well, he tries, of course.
Okay.
He digs through his pockets for paper and a pencil,
Yeah.
and even attempts to sketch a sheep from memory.
Mm-hmm.
But the little prince isn't easily satisfied. He has
Ah.
very specific ideas about what his ship should look like.
The perils of creative differences.
Right.
This back and forth over the sheep feels significant.
Yeah.
It seems to highlight the clash between the adult and the childlike perspectives.
Definitely.
What do you think?
Absolutely. It establishes a key theme of the story.
Okay.
This contrast between the practical, often rigid world of adults
Mm-hmm.
and the boundless imagination of children.
Yeah.
The little prince, and his insistence on the perfect sheep,
Yeah.
represents this purity of vision,
Right.
untainted by the compromises of the adult world.
And this theme continues as we learn more about the little prince's background.
Yes,
He reveals that he comes from a tiny asteroid,
he does.
Asteroid B-612.
That's right.
Can you tell us about this peculiar little world?
It's a world barely bigger than a house,
Okay.
with 3 volcanoes,
Right.
2 active and 1 extinct,
He points that out.
as the little prince meticulously points out,
Of course.
and a single, very special rose.
Interesting. A tiny world with a single rose?
Right.
That sounds symbolic already.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this rose and its significance to the little prince?
The rose is described as both beautiful and vain. She demands the little prince's constant attention and care, and he diligently tends to her, shielding her from the wind and watering her faithfully.
He sounds quite devoted to this rose,
He is.
but it sounds like their relationship might be a bit complicated.
It is. The little prince loves the rose dearly,
Okay.
but he's also frustrated by her demands and her pronouncements. He begins to doubt her sincerity
Right.
and feels hurt by her perceived vanity.
Okay.
And this disillusionment is ultimately what leads him to leave his asteroid
Right.
and embark on his journey.
So the little prince sets off on a journey across the universe, leaving his rose behind.
Yes.
And he ends up visiting a series of quite peculiar planets.
He does.
What's the first stop on his interplanetary tour?
His first encounter is with the king,
A king.
who reigns over a planet so small that it can barely accommodate his throne.
A king without subjects. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What does the little prince learn from this encounter?
The king, despite having no one to rule,
Right.
clings to this illusion of absolute authority.
Mhm.
He believes he has the power to command the stars and the sunset, even though he has no real control over anything.
It seems like a commentary on the absurdity of power without purpose or responsibility.
Precisely.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. The little prince observes the king's self-importance
Okay.
and begins to question the nature of true authority.
So from this tiny kingdom, where does the little prince venture next?
His next stop is a planet inhabited by a conceited man,
Okay.
a man consumed by his own vanity.
Another fascinating character.
Yeah.
Tell us about this encounter. What's the nature of this man's vanity?
He craves admiration and applause,
Okay.
constantly seeking validation from anyone who might pass by his planet.
Mm-hmm.
He longs to be recognized as the most handsome, the most intelligent, the most admired person in the universe.
It sounds like a rather empty existence, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The little prince is perplexed by this man's insatiable need for external validation.
Yeah.
He sees the futility of seeking self-worth solely through the eyes of others.
A poignant observation indeed. And after this encounter with vanity personified, where does the little prince's journey take him next?
His third stop is a planet occupied by a drunkard,
Okay.
a man perpetually lost in a bottle.
Another rather bleak encounter.
Yeah.
What's the story behind this drunkard? What drives him to drink?
The drunkard drinks to forget his shame,
Oh.
but the shame itself stems from his drinking.
Oh, wow.
It's a vicious cycle of self-destruction,
Right.
a desperate attempt to escape a reality that he finds unbearable.
It sounds like a poignant commentary on the destructive nature of addiction.
Definitely.
What impact does this encounter have on the little prince?
He's deeply saddened by the drunkard's plight.
Okay.
He sees the man's pain and recognizes the futility of trying to escape one's problems through self-destructive behavior.
It's interesting how these early encounters seem to highlight different forms of escapism.
Great.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
The king escaping into his illusion of power,
Mm-hmm.
the conceited man seeking refuge in admiration,
Right.
and the drunkard trying to drown his sorrows in a bottle.
It's a perceptive observation. The little prince in his innocence is encountering the darker sides of human nature,
Right.
the ways in which we try to avoid confronting our true selves.
And these encounters continue as the little prince's journey progresses.
Yes.
Where does he land next?
His fourth stop is a planet owned by a businessman,
Okay.
a man obsessed with counting and possessing the stars.
The pursuit of material wealth.
Right.
Tell us about this businessman and his peculiar obsession.
He spends all his time meticulously counting the stars,
Mm-hmm.
believing that by owning them, he somehow controls their value.
Right.
He's so consumed by this pursuit
Right.
that he has no time for anything else, not even the beauty of the stars themselves.
A classic tale of greed and materialism, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
What insights does the little prince glean from this encounter?
He's puzzled by the businessman's relentless focus on accumulation.
Right.
He questions the value of possessing things that can't be truly owned or appreciated.
Okay. The little prince, with his childlike wisdom,
Mm.
sees the emptiness of a life solely devoted to material gain.
It's a stark reminder that true wealth lies not in what we possess,
Right.
but in how we experience and appreciate the world around us.
Exactly. And as the little prince continues his journey,
Okay.
he encounters yet another curious character,
Oh, okay.
a geographer.
Oh, this sounds intriguing.
Yes.
Tell us about this geographer and his planet.
The geographer spends all his time drawing maps,
Right?
but he never actually explores the world he's mapping.
Wow.
He relies solely on the accounts of explorers,
Okay.
valuing data and information over first-hand experience.
A scholar who lives vicariously through others.
Exactly.
What lesson does the little prince learn from this encounter?
He's initially excited to meet someone who seems to have knowledge of the world,
Mm-hmm.
but he soon realizes that the geographer, despite his expertise,
Yeah.
has never truly seen or experienced the places he maps. A poignant commentary on the limitations of knowledge without experience, wouldn't you say?
It is. The little prince realizes that true understanding comes from engaging with the world directly,
Right.
not just from reading about it in books or maps.
So we've seen the little prince journey across these fascinating planets,
We have.
each one revealing a different facet of human nature,
Yes.
often with a slightly darker edge.
Yeah.
But his journey doesn't end there, right?
Right. From the geographer's planet, the little prince finally arrives on Earth.
So this vast and diverse planet is his final destination.
It is.
What awaits him on Earth?
That's a great question.
We'll have to find out more about his earthly adventures in the next part of our deep dive.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Little Prince. When we left off, our titular prince had just landed on Earth
Yes.
after a whirlwind tour of some rather peculiar planets.
Right.
Now, Earth, as we know, is a pretty big place.
Uh-huh.
Where exactly does he touch down?
Well, he finds himself in the middle of the Sahara Desert,
Oh, wow.
much like the pilot at the beginning of the story.
Interesting.
It's a vast and desolate landscape,
Okay.
seemingly devoid of life.
So both the pilot and the Little Prince begin their journeys in this same stark setting.
Yeah.
That can't be a coincidence, right?
Right. It's definitely significant.
Yeah. What do you make of this parallel?
Well, the desert, in its emptiness and silence, becomes a kind of blank canvas for both characters.
Okay.
It's a place of introspection
Right.
where they're forced to confront their own thoughts and feelings.
I see. So the desert is more than just a physical location.
Right.
It's a symbolic space.
Yeah.
a setting that mirrors the internal journeys of both the pilot and the little prince.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's in this desolate landscape that the little prince has some of his most profound encounters.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the characters he meets on Earth. Does he find what he's looking for?
Well, his first encounter is with a snake.
A snake.
Not just any snake, but a very wise and enigmatic one.
Mm-hmm.
This snake speaks in riddles and offers the little prince a way to return home if he ever chooses to do so.
A snake offering a way home. That sounds ominous. What exactly does the snake propose?
The snake claims to have the power to send the little prince back to his star.
Okay.
But it's a one-way journey.
Oh.
It hints at a kind of transformation, a shedding of the earthly form.
Wow. That's heavy stuff for a children's book.
I know.
It sounds like this encounter foreshadows the ending of the story.
It does.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Who else does the little prince meet during his time on Earth?
He encounters a garden filled with roses,
Oh,
and this encounter is particularly significant for him.
ah, roses. This must bring back memories of his own rose back on Asteroid B-612.
Yes.
How does he react to seeing so many roses, all similar yet different from his own?
At first, he's devastated.
Oh, no.
He's heartbroken to realize that his rose isn't unique,
Right?
that there are thousands of others just like her. He feels a sense of loss and disillusionment.
I can imagine. It's like discovering that something you thought was precious and one of a kind is actually quite common. How does he cope with this realization?
This is where another crucial character enters the story.
Okay.
The fox.
Ah, the fox. I've heard so much about the fox's wisdom. What role does he play in the little prince's journey?
Well, the fox becomes the little prince's teacher,
Okay.
guiding him toward a deeper understanding of love, friendship, and responsibility.
This is where that famous quote comes in, right?
Yes.
It is only with the heart that one can see rightly.
Yeah.
What is essential is invisible to the eye.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The fox explains that true connection goes beyond surface appearances.
Okay.
It's about the bonds we create, the time and care we invest in our relationships.
Right.
He teaches the little prince about the importance of taming,
Oh,
which
yeah.
means creating ties, building a special bond with another being.
So it's not just about seeing someone.
Yeah.
It's about truly knowing them, understanding their unique essence.
Precisely.
Mhm.
The fox helps the little prince realize that his rose is special not because she's the only one of her kind,
Right.
but because of the time and love he's invested in her.
Right.
Their relationship, built through shared experiences and mutual care,
Yeah.
is what makes her unique and precious to him.
It's a beautiful lesson about how our relationships shape us and give meaning to our lives.
It really is. And armed with this new understanding,
Right.
the little prince begins to see the world and his own rose in a different light.
So the fox's teachings seem to be a turning point for the little prince.
Yeah,
He's starting to piece together some of the deeper truths about life and relationship.
right.
But how does this realization influence his actions? What happens next?
Well, as his time on Earth comes to an end,
Okay.
the little prince realizes he needs to return to his own planet, to his rose.
He's ready to go home. But how does he plan to get back to his tiny asteroid?
He remembers the snake he encountered earlier and its offer to send him back to his star.
Ah, the snake's cryptic proposal. I have a feeling this is where things take a bittersweet turn.
You're right. The snake's help comes at a price.
Okay.
Its venom can send the little prince back to his asteroid,
Yeah.
but it means leaving his physical body behind.
So he has to choose between staying on Earth or returning to his rose in a different form.
Exactly.
A difficult decision.
It is. He misses his rose terribly
Right.
and longs to be back in his own world,
Yeah.
but he also values the friendship he's formed with the pilot.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Oh.
What does he ultimately decide to do? Does he choose to stay or go?
He chooses to return to his rose.
Wow.
He realizes that he's responsible for her
Okay.
and that their bond is worth the sacrifice.
So how does this play out? How does he actually get back to his asteroid?
Well, the pilot and the little prince walk together into the desert, to the
Mhm.
place where they first met.
Right.
The snake is there waiting, and the
Yeah.
little prince allows it to bite him. Oh, that's heartbreaking. It's such a poignant moment. Tell me, how does the pilot react to all of this?
The pilot is devastated.
Okay.
He searches for the little prince's body the next day but finds nothing.
Wow.
He's left with only the memory of their encounter
Right.
and the profound lessons he's learned from this extraordinary little prince.
So we're left with this poignant image of the little prince returning to his star, leaving the pilot behind, with this mix of sorrow and wonder.
Yeah,
It's a bittersweet ending, to be sure.
it is.
But as we wrap up our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what it all means.
Right.
What message do you think Saint-Exupéry was trying to convey through this tale?
I think it's a story that speaks to the power of imagination,
Okay.
the importance of human connection,
Hmm.
and the enduring search for meaning in a world that often feels very confusing and chaotic.
Right.
It's a reminder to never lose sight of the child within us,
Yeah,
to look at the world with wonder and curiosity.
I like that. It's
But
about holding on to that sense of childlike wonder.
even as we navigate the complexities of adult life.
Right.
And what about the pilot?
Yeah.
What do you think his role is in the story?
Yeah.
Is he just a passive observer?
Yeah.
Or does he undergo a transformation of his own?
The pilot, I believe, represents the adult who has lost touch with that inner child.
Okay.
He's initially skeptical and bewildered by the little prince's strange pronouncements,
Right.
but through their encounters, he's gradually drawn into the little prince's world,
Mm-hmm.
rediscovering a sense of wonder and imagination that he thought he had lost.
So the little prince acts as a kind of catalyst for the pilot's own inner journey.
Exactly.
He helps him to see the world through fresh eyes,
Yeah.
to appreciate the simple yet profound truths that often elude us as adults.
Right.
So by the end of the story, the pilot is forever changed by his encounter with the little prince.
He is.
He carries the lessons he's learned into his own life, finding solace in the stars and cherishing the memory of their time together.
It's a reminder that even in loss, there can be growth and transformation.
Absolutely.
The little prince may be gone,
Right.
but his spirit, his wisdom lives on in the pilot's heart.
And in the hearts of countless readers who have been touched by this timeless story.
Definitely. It's a tale that continues to resonate across generations,
Right.
reminding us of what truly matters in life.
What's that?
Love, friendship, responsibility, and the courage to follow our hearts.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
The Little Prince is a story that can be revisited time and time again,
Right.
and each reading reveals new layers of meaning.
It does.
It's a gift to readers of all ages, a timeless tale that sparks conversation and inspires reflection.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into this extraordinary book.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring,
Yes.
keep questioning, and keep seeking those hidden truths that lie just beneath the surface.
Absolutely.